Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Another day in the lab, 2 hours straight work, and I'm still not done. November 10th, baby, I'm catching a fucking body, and I'm bringing the strap home. You don't want to miss it. Philadelphia, get with me for tickets.
That is the latest from unbeaten up-and-comer in the women's flyweight division, Leanna Cruz from Allentown, Pennsylvania, PA.
Sports a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, no draws, no recorded knockouts, not yet, but don't let that fool you. She can punch.
Fighter that sort of reminds me of the United Kingdom's own Rhiannon Dixon, not necessarily in terms of style or implementation, but because Leanna Cruz, like Rhiannon, she doesn't come from a decorated amateur background.
She's very good.
But she doesn't have much, if any, amateur experience, and looking the way she's been looking, it's remarkable that she's as good as she is, shows the ceiling that she shows, and she doesn't have much amateur experience.
Wow.
Having debuted as a professional in September of 2021, she only fought once in 2021, 2 times in 2022, and she's already seen action 3 times this year. This upcoming fight in November will be her 4th fight this year.
Last in action a few weeks ago, back in August, against seasoned veteran Mariguen Valenga.
Leanna Cruz, like I said, for a fighter with no amateur background, she looked sharp, she looked respectable,
Fast.
and strong, managed by Brian Cohen, who has managed the careers of several successful female fighters like Christina Linardatu,
Kaylee Reese.
Mary McGee, many others. Leanna Cruz,
Nicknamed the Bumblebee.
at least up until recently, Leanna Cruz has been campaigning in the flyweight division. Flyweight, that's where Marlon Esparza reigns as that division's unified champion. Arely Musinho of Mexico, she's got the IBF.
It's where she has been campaigning. It appears that in her next fight, she will be moving up in weight, up to super flyweight.
Currently 3 champions at super flyweight, though I don't think at this point in the juncture Leanna Cruz is ready for any one of them. She's only got 6 professional bouts, no amateur background. She hasn't even fought in a 10-rounder yet, so it's safe to say that there is more work needs doing. Her very next fight appears to be for an NABF title. Don't know who she's going to be fighting yet.
Fight doesn't appear on BoxRec.
She is talented, that she is. She is talented, and she's got spice. She's got charisma. Kinda reminds me of an East Coast version of Senicia Estrada, Puerto Rican one.
She's learning on the job.
It's what she's doing. If she takes care of business in November, that will be her 4th fight this year, and she is garnering all of her experience as a professional. In that way, she's learning on the job, and they need to keep her busy. They need to keep her active. I think they're doing a good job with that.
We don't yet know who she's fighting.
But it is good that she's fighting. By year's end, she will have fought 4 times in the same calendar year. That's an ideal schedule for an unbeaten up-and-comer, especially one that doesn't have much in terms of an amateur background. I imagine that her very next fight is going to be another developmental fight like the Mariguen Valenga fight. She looked impressive in that fight. Given her age, that she's only 25 years old, plenty of time to develop, and her physical dimensions, there are distinct possibilities for this fighter anywhere in between superfly to bantam, maybe even super bantam, though I think that would be pushing it.
She's young. She's got ability. She's got a bright future.
Set to return to action next month, Friday, on the 10th. Keep your eyes peeled for the ring return of the Bumblebee, Leanna Cruz. And we'll talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches. In men's super middleweight news, the continued fallout of this past weekend's action, Jermall Charlo, the brother of Jermell Charlo, stated, "My brother fought like a champion." He's going to back his brother for obvious reasons in spite of...
Fought like a champion.
He says his brother fought like a champion. Now, after watching it all play out, Charlo has found his name in the headlines. The words that have been used to describe him aren't flattering either. He's been called a disgrace, a fighter who mailed it in, looked for an easy way out, and simply showed up to collect a check. Charlo hasn't said much. He's too busy trying to process what went wrong and what he could have done better. While he's keeping a low profile nowadays, Jermall Charlo, his twin brother and current WBC middleweight champion, took the time to defend him. His critics may disagree, but Jermall believes his twin shouldn't be ashamed of anything. "My brother fought like a champion.
No, he didn't.
But I won't begrudge Jermall Charlo defending his twin brother because I expect him to do that under any circumstances. They are family, after all, so we know what his motivation is. It's not Jermall Charlo defending Jermell that has my attention.
It's the guys backtracking.
It's the guys that actually picked Jermell Charlo to win. The guys who were backing him going into this weekend's fight. They're the ones that have my attention, those content creators, grifters.
Scam artists.
They've got my attention. I expect Jermell Charlo to try and save face for his twin brother. But why are they trying to save face?
What's their motivation?
They backed the wrong horse. They backed the wrong horse.
Again.
Yet again. And now they feel fucking stupid. They look fucking stupid. You don't believe me? I'll show you.
Jermell Charlo ain't lying. Jermell Charlo at 154 would stop Canelo at 168. Jermell Charlo would stop Canelo at 168. Would stop Canelo at 168.
So tonight is going to be one night to remember. This fight is going to be historical and legendary. I haven't been this excited for a Canelo Alvarez fight for nearly a decade. Without any further ado, my prediction goes as follows. Jermell Charlo is going to give Canelo Alvarez a hard time with his movement.
Is that what he did?
Jermell excels on being able to move and punch at the same time, just like Bivol did against Canelo. So the fact that Canelo Alvarez's feet are stuck in the mud. On the other hand, Jermell, he's able to move and he's always in position to punch while moving. That's going to give Canelo Alvarez a hard time against Jermell Charlo. I actually see Jermell Charlo winning a lot of rounds doing that against Canelo Alvarez.
Is that what he did?
The only way Charlo can win this fight is by knockout or completely dominating Canelo Alvarez, because if he wins a close fight, like a 7-5 or 8-4, we already know Canelo Alvarez is going to get an early Christmas present from the judges, like he always do. However, one thing for sure and two things for certain, Jermell Charlo is not going down without a fight. So this is going to be one hell of a fight to remember.
Remember what he said before the fight. This is what he said after the fight.
I hate to tell you I told you so, but I did tell you so on my prediction video. I picked Canelo to beat Jermell Charlo.
No, you didn't. You picked Jermell, and you said he wasn't going to go out without a fight. That's exactly what he did.
Because I had a feeling Jermell Charlo was going to pay too much respect to Canelo Alvarez.
Now, these are the guys that told you that Wilder was going to beat Tyson Fury. These are the guys that told you that Fulton was going to beat Inoue, that Spence was going to beat Crawford, that Charlo was going to beat Canelo. These are the people. These are the content creators, if you even want to call that content.
I call it garbage.
These guys that have very little understanding when it comes to the technical and tactical aspects of pugilism, of boxing, and even in the realm of infotainment.
Information and entertainment.
I sometimes struggle to understand why anyone would choose to get their news or entertainment information from these individuals when all they do is misinform.
Then I remember.
Irrespective of the following that they may have amassed on a particular social media platform, their views and perspectives do not represent the greater boxing community at large. Quite the opposite. In spite of how large their following might be on, say, the YouTube platform,
They cater to bums.
the audience that they pander to, irrespective of its size on this particular platform, does not represent the paying customer and the paying public in the sport of boxing. What they've effectively done is cornered a niche market of lowlives and degenerates.
That's who they pander to.
Because any real boxing fan who wants real boxing news and views and boxing talk, they wouldn't go to these guys.
These guys don't know shit about boxing.
Isn't that obvious? That's why they told you that Deontay Wilder would beat Tyson Fury. That's why they told you that Stephen Fulton would beat Naoya Inoue. That's why for years they told you that Spence would beat Crawford. And that's why they just told you that Charlo would beat Canelo. And now they're trying to backtrack.
Pretend it didn't happen.
I think what's most jarring about it is that for years, these are the content creators that told you that Canelo Alvarez was ducking slick American fighters. And among those aforementioned slick American fighters, you saw the names of both the Charlo brothers, Jermell and Jermall.
Jermell, who these two geniuses picked to win this past weekend.
If you're wondering where those skewed perspectives and those views come from, where do people get them? They get them from these guys and other guys like them.
That Canelo's ducking Jermell, and he's ducking Jermall, and he's ducking Demetrius. These fucking nobodies.
These are the content creators. These are the guys that like to classify fighters Euro bums. Bums just because they come from Europe, when near as I can tell, those Euro bums, quote unquote, gave Canelo a better fight than the slick American fighter, the one they were backing.
Shows what they know.
You can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time, and it's becoming more and more obvious as these PBC fighters continue to get exposed that these guys, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
They don't know shit about boxing.
Just thought it prudent before they jump on to the next hype train, and the next hype train leaves the station. Jermell Charlo is who these geniuses were backing. So if they go ahead and back David Benavidez, what does that tell you?
Based on their track record.
And what predictions they've made so far. What does that tell you about David?
These guys would rather hype up David, who's beaten absolutely no one, than Canelo.
There definitely seems to be a conscious effort to tear down what is arguably the most accomplished fighter in the sport of boxing here today. And you have to wonder, if this guy's as accomplished as you say he is, then why are people trying to tear him down? A part of it is xenophobia, American arrogance. There are those in this country, in this boxing scene, who would prefer that the face of the sport be a face like their own, an American fighter.
It's bigotry.
Some of it is. And that existing sentiment in some circles is who those content creators, the ones I just mentioned, that's who they cater to. But once again, they don't represent the majority of fight fans or the majority of paying customers, because if they did, then Canelo wouldn't be as big a draw as he is.
He wouldn't be as popular.
Who do you think is buying all these tickets? Who do you think is buying these pay-per-views? John Ryder fans? Charlo fans?
No, those are Canelo fans. That's saying that if you've got an axe to grind with this guy, you're likely in the minority.
You likely are. And if a large portion of that minority likes to watch YouTube videos from guys that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, they are still in the minority.
You're outnumbered.
Because more people in America pay to see Canelo Alvarez than anyone else. Any of these fighters you like to prop up, Gervonta Davis included.
He's not on the Forbes list.
He's not the biggest draw in America. He is not the top earning athlete in this sport, because if he were, it would be his name on the Forbes list and not Canelo's. This really grinds their gears, but it's a reality.
It's the truth.
Those who would go as far as backing Jermell Charlo to win this past weekend are doubling back, because they'd rather do anything than give Canelo Alvarez his just due. They'd rather do anything, even appear a brazen hypocrite,
Then give him credit.
I see it all the time. Those who like to pick apart his resume and say that, well, you know, Canelo got a gift in a Golovkin fight.
And Chavez got a gift in the Pernell-Whitaker fight.
Floyd got a gift in the Castillo fight. Oscar De La Hoya got a gift in the Felix Sturm fight. Some would tell you that Gennady Golovkin got a gift in the Daniel Jacobs and Sergey Derevyanchenko fights.
Gifts happen, even to very accomplished fighters, historically accomplished fighters. Every so often, gifts happen. What are you pigeonholing Canelo for?
Cause he's the only guy that ever got a gift. I'm not even telling you that he didn't get lucky in that first Golovkin fight. I scored it for Golovkin. All I'm telling you is that's par for the course in this sport.
That doesn't make him a bad fighter, and that doesn't change that he is, at minimum, one of the most accomplished fighters in the sport today.
And that he deserves a lot better than some people are giving him. Now, Jim Lampley, veteran commentator Jim Lampley, was in attendance for this past weekend's action, and this was his reaction.
Tonight was about the greatness of Canelo Alvarez, who once again demonstrated he's the greatest fighter of his generation and showed all the qualities that make him great.
Subject to some debate, I think. Is Canelo Alvarez really this era's greatest fighter? What about Terence Crawford? What about Naoya Inoue or Alexander Usyk? At minimum, I think there is a discussion to be had there. What's not up for debate and what's not up for discussion is that He's a greater fighter than Demetrius Andrade, I'd say. He's a greater fighter than David Benavidez, yet these are the names.
He was already a greater fighter than Jermell Charlo before this past weekend's fight, yet that's the guy some people chose to get behind.
Why?
Success breeds envy.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. was a pretty polarizing figure in his heyday, so much so that there were actually people who purchased his fights in the hopes to see him lose. Just to see him lose!
That's how much they hated that guy.
I think that's how much some people hate Canelo Alvarez, even though he does have 2 recorded losses on his record. Nothing to be ashamed of. What? A loss to the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport at age 23?
You're gonna hold it against him that he lost to Floyd Mayweather?
Who was Demetrius Andrade fighting at age 23? Who was David Benavidez fighting at age 23? Any of these nobodies you like to get behind. What were they doing at the same age Canelo was when he fought Floyd?
Nothing. That's what they were doing. A whole bunch of nothing, and they're still doing nothing.
They get behind him. You're going to hold it against Canelo Alvarez that he lost to Dimitri Bivol at what was his 4th weight. A naturally bigger fighter, unbeaten, in his prime.
You're gonna hold it against Canelo that he lost to a light heavyweight.
Whilst hyping up David Benavidez.
What?
Whilst hyping up Demetrius Andrade. What have they done of any note? Did they go up there and challenge Dimitri?
No.
Then what are you so high on them for? What did they do?
Nothing.
Oh, I see. You're holding it against Canelo Alvarez that he fought a guy 2 divisions south of where he campaigns, because Floyd didn't do that with Juan Manuel Marquez, right?
Right.
You say you don't like Canelo Alvarez because of catch weights and rehydration clauses, because Floyd never used those, right?
Right.
Manny never used those, right?
Right.
Gervonta Davis didn't just use one of those on a glorified prospect in Ryan Garcia, right?
Right.
When you take a good long look at Canelo Alvarez's critics and the fighters they do support, the fighters they do get behind, the criticisms don't make any sense. They're brazen contradictions.
I remember a lot of Spence fans wanted Canelo to fight Errol Spence Jr. Didn't Errol fight Mikey Garcia, who came up 2 weight classes for that fight?
He did. And when he did, you guys were okay with that, but you're not okay with this? I thought you wanted Canelo to take on a slick American fighter.
Jermell's not slick enough for you?
Tell you what I think, I'll tell you what I think. I don't know here and now that I would classify Canelo Alvarez as the greatest fighter of this era. I think that is subject to some debate.
But this isn't.
He deserves a lot better than he's getting from some people, some who would support David instead of Canelo or Demetrius instead of Canelo. They're willing to prop up almost anyone these days, then give this kid his just due.
That's all I'm doing. I'm giving him the credit that he deserves. No more, no less.